Hi everyone, my name is Leland Boldis, and I am the 2024 and 2025 summer intern at A Seat at the Piano. And today, I am with you all because I'm starting a new virtual series on our website. Throughout the summer, I will be interviewing composers within our database and learning more about their journeys with piano, composition, navigating classical music spaces, and more. I am so excited to be bringing this content your way, and I hope you enjoy. Joining us today for our very first video interview at A Seat at the Piano is KARALYN Schubring. This University of Michigan alum is a highly accomplished and talented pianist, composer, and educator with a plethora of awards and commissions under her belt. We are fans of KARALYN, so if you're not familiar with her work yet, we are confident you will be a fan of hers as well. I hope you enjoy the interview. Thank you. Hi, KARALYN. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be able to chat with you today.
Yeah, so let's hop right in. At A Seat at the Piano, one of our driving forces is creating an inclusive, welcoming, and accessible space for people interested in exploring classical music. So I'm curious, who was like the first person that offered you a seat at the piano, or the first person that really like introduced you to the world of piano performance, classical music, or just music in general?
That's a great question. I would say for me, it was my parents. They both did some amount of music education growing up, like through high school. So my dad played the bassoon. My mom was a musical theater person. So they both understood the value of music education. And it was kind of by chance that I got to start as early as I did. We found a Yamaha music school in our neck of the woods, and they just start you when you're 3 years old because that's when your ears are really developing and everything. And so it was just kind of a series of coincidences. Now I don't think it was a coincidence, but that led to me being able to start really young. So it was just because they had that value system. And they were willing to bring me to class every week, starting at 3 years old, that I got that opportunity.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. That we'll touch upon it later on, but just starting at the age of three is wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, no, I mean it's nothing special. It's like everyone starts at that age because that's when it's just, I mean it's like Suzuki, the
Yeah,
Yamaha.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because I have you here, I have to talk about Story of the Stars. That truly is one of my favorite pieces of yours. It's featured on the ASAP website. I love it so much. I love that it reminds me of a film score almost. Just love the journey that you take your listeners on. So I'm curious, like, what was the compositional process for writing that piece?
Great question. So it was a long time I wrote that piece. But I do remember a couple things about it. So I was working very closely with my teacher at the time. So I would say a lot of her compositional voice ended up in the piece, and that is gradually melded into the kind of composer I am today. One thing I remember is that the second movement I just like sat down at my clavinova at home and hit record. And so a lot of that movement is pretty much just a transcription of the improvisation I did. And then the third movement, I remember the original idea I had for it was like in 3/4. But then my teacher was like, what if you made it into 5/8 instead and took out the last beat? And it totally changed the game. So
Yeah.
definitely writing that piece with her, I learned a lot about time signature shifts and stuff like that. And it was really fun to write.
Yeah, no, I could tell it was so fun to listen to. Speaking of improv, word on the street, Carolyn, is that you're a big fan of two things, nature and improv. So I was curious if you could play a little game. So I wanted to list off like three things that you like find in nature, and I want you to name the key signature that comes to mind, and also see if you're willing to improv a little bit of what comes to mind as well.
Sure. Yeah. I do this kind of game with my students too. I have this little game called Story Cubes and it gives little pictures and I make them do the same thing where it's like, okay, you got a shooting star, you have to improvise and they love it. So I get to play now. I'm excited.
Perfect. So the first one is going to be a waterfall.
Ooh, okay. I think the key signature that comes to my mind is E flat major for some reason today.
Beautiful. Oh my, Kaylin, that was amazing. I felt it. Felt like a waterfall. So what was going on in your head during that process? Like, what were you thinking of?
I see him just like how majestic they are and just the amount of activity. So I feel like the bass notes kind of captured like the grandeur, and the activity up here captured more of the just all of the movement going on.
Absolutely. Number two, a cactus.
Oh, that's perfect because I live in Arizona.
Yeah.
There's so many different kinds of cactuses too. I have to decide in my head which one. I guess we'll just do the saguaro. That's the classic that you
All
see
right.
most. But yeah, for some reason, the color green and D minor to me just match. So we'll just go
Okay.
with that.
I'm feeling it.
And yeah, we'll start with there. Okay.
Incredible. That I love the jazzy vibe to it as well. That was so good. Love that.
That was the like, don't talk to me. That's like all the plants in Arizona are like, do not touch my plant.
So our final one, a snail.
Ooh. Um, Key signature. I don't know why E flat comes to mind again. For some reason,
Amazing key
that's what
signature.
I'm feeling today. We'll do minor this time to keep it different. All right. There you go.
I expect to hear a full piece from that. I will
All
be
right, that's my
patiently
homework.
waiting. That was so good. So I'm curious, where do you think this love of improv stemmed from? Because I know you've talked about the Hiromi concert that you went to, and that kind of stemmed from there. And I'm curious to hear about that journey of growth of improv for you.
Yeah, so it was for sure that concert that really kicked it off. I was in eighth grade, I believe, and my teacher was just like, "Hello, we're going to this concert, and you're coming." And I didn't know what to expect. But yeah, it was just Hiromi and a piano, and her smiling face, and her incredible fast fingers. And that was really the first time it clicked for me that music was really fun. Before, it kind of just felt like homework. Seeing her just look like a 14-year-old kid having a blast was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow, nobody told me that. So yeah, after that concert, I remember it was like, 10 o'clock at night, and I marched my parents to the computer, and I'm like, we're going on iTunes right now and we're buying her album. Remember iTunes? And then And then I just listened to it all the time, like when I was doing homework. So I was just constantly listening to her music, and pretty much had it, her whole album memorized. And then I would start going to the piano and mimicking what I was hearing. And um, around that time, my practicing started to shift to be like I would just come home from school and I would just play. Like I wouldn't take out any books or anything. I would just like decompress just through improvising for maybe like 20, 30 minutes. Some days that was all the practicing I did, which I don't necessarily recommend to all of the serious pianists out here, but that's what I did. I did a lot of just improvising and creating, and she got me excited about doing it. And the more I did it, the more I really loved it. And that's what made me fall in love with composing too.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. I mean, as a listener, you can definitely feel that from your work. So, music's been a part of your entire life. You mentioned earlier how you started piano lessons at 3 years old. I'm curious if there was ever a time where you felt like you didn't necessarily belong in the classical music space.
That's a good question. There was one summer camp I went to where I was the only woman in the composition program that summer out of 10. So that was an interesting experience. I didn't have a negative experience because of that. In some ways, I felt like that that put the spotlight on me in a helpful way. But I would say I've struggled more with feeling like I belong as a pianist versus a composer.
Hmm.
Um, just because, well, I mentioned how I started practicing in like high school, and that kind of has continued. I feel like I've never really had the practice regimen of a real pianist. Uh, and so, but I've been learning how to really embrace that. And in college, that looked like I played a ton of new music and a lot of chamber music, and I got so many performance opportunities from that that I really loved, and I learned so much from that. And now that I'm kind of on my own, I've been doing improvised concerts, and so I've found like actually this is my niche, and this is something I can really own. I'm not playing a full Beethoven, Bach, Brahms program, but I'm able to bring something that's unique to me, and that's been really special.
So, as a educator, I'm curious if there's any ways that you have tried to make classical music more welcoming and accessible.
Yeah, so it's pretty fun. I have all my students are under age 15, so they're really young composers. They all are in the same music education system. I was in the same Yamaha school. So in a lot of ways we speak the same language. They're great little improvisers. Music comes really intuitively to them. And so I get to just introduce them to music that has impacted my life. I try to pull from as many different genres as I can. One week we might be talking about how Taylor Swift did this thing, or here's something from a Jason Robert Brown musical, or here's something from Leonard Bernstein or whatever. But it's really just whatever music is happening in their minds, the ideas that they're drawn to. I'm just trying to pull from other musical influences that are in the same wavelength to show them. I really see my job as their composition teacher to be to introduce them to what's possible. And so a lot of the way I do that is just getting to introduce them to whatever music their music reminds me of.
That's incredible. That's for myself has had a huge impact on me of just not only like sticking to classical music, but hearing like whatever music I hear in like a television show or a film or something like that, and just kind of seeing like, oh, I enjoy this. How can that influence my compositional style? It's really, really helpful.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's so many effective things that everyone's doing that's similar underneath the surface, right? And so we can all steal from each other.
So in a previous interview, you mentioned that you really enjoyed writing music for your friends and also playing your friends' work. So I'm curious how you view the role community has played in your compositional journey.
Oh yeah, community is super important. Obviously, I wouldn't have a music education if it weren't for the people who have poured into my life. I think as pianists specifically, we tend to get pretty isolated. We can just be in our practice rooms and we can give concerts all by ourselves, and people will come and have a great time. But yeah, it was really in college that I got plugged into a chamber music group, and that really shifted my perspective on what's possible. And I just found so much joy making music with other people and trying to collaborate as much as possible. Honestly, the collaborations I did as a pianist opened some doors for me to work with people later as a composer, which was really special and something I wouldn't have necessarily seen before. So getting to write music for my friends and getting to play music written by my friends is a fun way to engage in like this exchange and community. And yeah, I mean, today I would not have freelance work if I didn't have friends. So it serves a very practical purpose too, that people are like still believe in me and want to support the work that I'm doing. It's so incredible, and I don't take that for granted.
Yeah, absolutely. Community is important, everyone.
Yeah. Yes. And
But
just for your sanity also, like we're normal people and we need each other.
so, you've been composing for a long time now. So I'm curious if there's any like non-classical artists or genre that has like unexpectedly influenced your compositions.
You know, I don't know when I started getting into folk music, but I think that's something that's kind of trickled its way in. Yeah, but just like that's what I want to listen to when I'm on a road trip or just, you know, when I want to feel nice inside, like folk music is where it's at. And
I know exactly what you're talking about.
yeah.
Yep. So I'm curious. It could be any genre. What are you currently jamming to? From pop, heavy metal, whatever it is. Like what's on repeat for you right now?
Well, this is just kind of funny. It's on repeat because it's the one CD in my car and I haven't bothered to change it up. But it's so it is in the classical realm, but it's Kevin Putt's concerto for he wrote it for Time for Three, which is this two violin and bass trio. and I saw it at the Phoenix Symphony last fall, I think. And I have not wanted to take that CD out of my car. It is such an amazing concerto, and I've just been rocking out to it. It's called Contact, so check it out.
Writing that down. So, Carolyn, I'm curious, as a composer, what do you consider to be your composition superpower and composition kryptonite?
That's a fun question. I actually would consider the same thing, like it's a two-sided coin. So
Okay.
for me, it's that I'm very intuitive. So obviously it comes from the how improvisation led I am as a composer. And so that can be really great, really exploratory. It's easy for me to just like shut my critical part of my brain off and just go and play and see what's possible. But it can also be hard to rein it in, find structure, make a plan, like to hang all of the like I can come up with ideas all day long. But when it comes time to like, okay, let's organize them and make them make sense to somebody else, that can be more of a struggle for me. And I think too, when you get very comfortable with your improvising, something that you always have to, something you have to start kind of practicing against is falling into the same choices and ruts over time. So that's something also that I'm working on is, okay, how do I not keep making the same decisions over and over just because it's, the usual grooves that I go through.
As a follow-up to that, I know like it sometimes it can feel hard to be creative sometimes, especially when you're constantly pumping out new music, constantly writing for different things. Like, how do you navigate those writer block spells?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I went through a pretty serious dry spell after I graduated college, because that was a time when I mean, I was just pushing myself, pushing, and then suddenly not having anyone to be accountable to after school was wild for my mental health. And I was like, what am I doing? And why am I doing this? And what? So I got some coaching. His name's Joseph So. I really recommend he works with composers to kind of help with their mental headspace and just giving a healthy process. And so I feel like my work with him really solidified my ability to treat composing as a profession and not just as a passion that I just like have to go with whatever inspiration is pulling me to and fro. So just the things that I learned from working with him really helped me to come up with tactics and strategies and headspaces where it's like I can just like show up for work and come up with ideas and not judge myself and just be like, hey, this thing like objectively does the job I need it to do for this piece, and that's good enough. And I don't have to sit on this and cry over it and wonder if it's good enough. Like there's just no time for that. There's no like every piece that we write, now I'm a really big believer of this, like it should not be so emotionally taxing that everything feels hard all the time. Of course, we can go through growth spurts, but now I actually love helping people kind of unlock those mindsets too, because I was there. It was no fun. Being able to now just show up and know that my brain is going to be able to provide a solution every single time. And maybe it's not always going to be the best possible one in the universe in existence, but it's going to be good enough for this piece, and I'm going to keep growing, and that's okay.
That's amazing. I no, I that thank you for helping me out because I needed to hear that.
Yeah.
Carolyn, you are an established figure in the world of piano and composition. So I'm curious to know, what do you hope that your seat at the piano says for others? What advice would you say for other people who are trying to explore this realm and who are actively doing so?
Yeah. So I like to see my role as a creator is to give people permission and to show them possibilities. So I think my creative skill set is one way that I demonstrate what's possible for people. And I say permission because I think sometimes we're our own worst enemy and we're our own worst gatekeeper of, oh, I can't do that because I'm not like them. And so something that I hope to encourage in people and instill in them is that no, you have what it takes, and it matters that you're here, and the gifts that you have inside of you are special, and they are put there by God, and they need to be shared with the world. Yeah, I just hope that my creative practice, the ways that I teach, the ways I show up and when I perform, just help people understand that they have something to offer and it's worth sharing.
Carolyn, that was beautiful, that and amazing. Thank you so much. This was such a fun time. Thank you so much for
Oh,
joining
it's
me
so fun.
today. Getting to chat with me. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you for your wonderful questions.
Once again, a huge thank you to Carolyn for chatting with me, and thank you all for watching this video. Please make sure to check out Story of the Stars and so much more of Carolyn's work on the A Seat at the Piano website today. Thank you.